All right, so we went over this at the faculty meeting, but I thought it might be good to have a screencast as a backup in case you get super bored over break and you just really want to dig into TL Campus in preparation for any e-learning days that may or may not occur. So we're just going to start out here at the dashboard. First thing, it's really easy. Just review the people that are in your courses. We can control that. We can adjust those. So if you go to a class, click on it, you're going to go to people, and you want to basically verify that those people exist in your current classroom. And if they don't, you can remove them. And if you are missing people, then you can add them. So I've done this, and everybody that's in this room is on my roster. This is also the same way that you could go and view the latest activity by that student and the total amount of time that they were there doing work. That is sort of a good way to sort of keep up with kids and whether or not they're actually participating in what you've created for them. Next thing, if you do need to add a student, it's pretty easy. You're just going to go to Add People, click that, and then you have to follow the recipe that we have here at Twin Lakes, which is graduation year followed by their last name and then their first two initials of their first name. And so it would end up being something like 19 Painter MA at tlcampus.com. And if that's verified through the system and you've typed it correctly, then it'll say, yep, that's a person that exists here, and you can go ahead and add them to your class. And so once you've typed that, you choose the appropriate section and role, and you hit next, and that's how you add them. This will be important second semester when a lot of our students might change, and we might need to go in and do some sort of cleanup work. Next thing, posting. Everybody has a different approach to posting e-learning. I'm not going to dictate that. Nobody wants necessarily to have the approach dictated to them, but it does need to be consistent, and it does need to be clear to the students and concise. So I know a lot of us have a similar approach, and so one approach that I do believe works pretty well is to post your assignments, post the e-learning assignment as an announcement. So you would go to your class and add an announcement. And in the announcements, that can be easily labeled as, I think it is helpful in the topic or title to be very specific. So we want to call it e-learning, red day, and even the date, for example. So 1/22/16, for example. That way, there's really no confusion about which day is associated with this e-learning day. When we have consecutive days, or when we have multiple red days, for example, the kids can look at the calendar, they can see the date and so forth. Then it might be a good idea, now that you've labeled this assignment, to put your directions for what you want them to do in this text area. If you're going to have students submit material to you digitally, then you might want to then go ahead and make a coordinating assignment that has the same label. Okay, so if I was going to do this, I'm not, so I'm going to cancel it. But I made that assignment, that announcement. Now I can go to assignments, and I can title it the same thing as the directions were. Okay, so I could put that here. And then whatever the assignment happens to be and how you want it submitted. And so that brings us to the next step. We can get very specific about the I gotta speak clearly about the assignments we've got. So once you've named it and it coordinates with your announcement and your directions, then you can really do a great deal of customization of your assignment. Obviously, you can put the point value in there. If you use the grading function in TL Campus, put that there. Assignments, you can create groups. We can talk about that later if that's something you're interested in. What type of grade you want displayed, you can choose there. And then submission type, and this is really cool. You've got choices here. No submission, online, on paper, you can set it for that, or an external tool. I'm going to leave it online, and then you can basically click all the possible ways you want things to be turned in. One that's not listed here that all the students have access to is Google Docs. They are able to simply click a Google Docs tab, and it will give them access to their Google Drive, and then they can share their work. Anything that's done in a Google app, they can share. So Google Slide, Drawing, Doc, Form, whatever. Media recordings, file uploads. Text entry, if you just want them to answer a question, they can type it directly in a text box. So you can customize that. The final thing, which I also think is really important, is sure, establish a due date, type that in. You could even customize the time. So if you want to make it specific to certain class periods, like this assignment is due by the end of class, and you would put the end of class time there. But then the available from. I personally like to make the assignment available from when it's assigned, and I actually will leave it available for a few days after the due date to give kids that were absent the opportunity to still turn in the assignment. It'll show you that it was late. It'll put it in red. So when you see their work, it's in a window that's red, so you know it was turned in late, but it was turned in. Some of us that give partial credit for late work, that's helpful. So the procedure there, again, needs to be consistent and clear so that there's no question. We all have different approaches, and that's completely fine, and students know how to function that way. They know we all have our own expectations and rules. This is no different, but it does need to be consistent so that they know Mr. Painter does it this way, this is where I'm looking for the assignment, for example. So the next thing we can do, and this is sort of higher level samurai stuff, is you can add apps to TL Campus. And so to do that, you're going to choose a course, and I'm just going to stay in my Red 1 course here. And you are going to go to Settings and Apps up here at the top. So you can incorporate external apps, and there are a ton of apps available. Some of them you'll be familiar with, some not. Some of them you can't install because they require a license, and we don't have a license. However, there are a number that you can get for free. And so you've got a list of all of them, and there are a lot. So I've installed some. So if I click on my installed, these are the ones I've installed. Dropbox, back in the day when we used Dropbox, Charts, Khan Academy, TED Talks, USA, and YouTube. And so what this gives you the ability to do is embed information from these apps into your assignments. So embedding means to bury them in the assignment, as opposed to students having to go to YouTube in a separate tab to watch the video you assigned. Okay, so you might say, who cares? That's too complicated. And maybe you're right. I personally find that if I put the YouTube video directly in the assignment, it's less likely for kids to miss it or ignore it. Where if they have to type in a link or it opens in another tab, it just complicates the issue. And again, we're trying to simplify the process for the kids. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to assignments. And I'm going to add an assignment. And I'm going to be able to embed content right here in the assignment. And the way to do that is right here. There's a little button here that looks like a blue V, and it says More External Tools. I'm going to click that, and all the apps that I've added are here. So if I go to YouTube and click that, now I've got a YouTube search, and I can type in whatever it is that I need. So I'm going to type in Macbeth, and it's going to search, and it's going to give me some results. maybe. There we go. And let's say that I want to assign this video. So I'm going to embed the video. I can choose the size that I want the screen to be. Medium is usually pretty safe. And so there it is. And you're saying, where is it? You say it's there. No, it's not. It is. This gray box is kind of a placeholder. And so it's there. So now I've put the video in here as the assignment. And I can, in my announcement, say, hey, watch the video and do blah, blah, blah. And so again, you can customize your assignment however you want, but it's there. And that makes it really easy for you. It causes less confusion for students. Next, files. A lot of us are doing this already. You have a lot of notes in your class. You want to provide those notes and make them available at all times for your students. So very simply, files, and you can upload files. And so you can see for this particular class, I have 2 different documents that are just there all the time. A lot of you guys math teachers are great about putting up their notes and making them available for students to go back and review and so forth. So this is a great spot to do that. So as far as, these are kind of the basic things that we want to focus on when e-learning days occur. Again, basics. Just the things we need to do to make sure we're kind of holding up our end of the bargain here with e-learning days. If you were to click on grades, that's where you can ultimately see when students have submitted information. And so as you can see in this case, I have a tech toy review that students submitted, unfortunately not very many. And then I have a web mix that they're going to be turning in next class. And so I can see if they submitted and then how they submitted it. And then, of course, if I click on those, I can go ahead and grade those directly in TO Campus, which is pretty great. You can enter the grades here, and then you get to do the swappy thing where you look over here to see Elmer's grade in TO Campus, and then you have to retype it into SDS. That's a bummer, but I think in the long run, it's probably good. It is a bit time-consuming. That's all for TO Campus. I'm going to create another screencast shortly with some Google Apps and extensions that I would recommend. That might help you with e-learning and might help you as a teacher throughout the rest of the year. So have a good one. Thanks.